within the scope of a ABAP program. And did we use the local classes in our last session, or we only created global one? Global. Okay. So, and they are defined within the scope of a ABAP program or function module, right? Then what we can say for this, local classes cannot be reused outside of that program, correct? Is it correct? Is it the same definition, right?
Yes.
And this is how we define class and class. This is the syntax of this class and class. And whatever you want, you can simply write it here. So let's check it. I will simply go to SE38, ABAP editor, local class ABAP. Create. Okay. Local class in ABAP programming. And the type we can pass executable, package, and transport request. Yeah. So this is my report. Now here I will go for my first local class. So local class definition and class, and we will have local class implementation. So local class implementation, and then you can go for end class. Then visibility of the things. So the order is going to be always from public to protected and protected to private. So very first thing is your public section, protected section, and private section. Yes, public section, whatever you want to define, you can define it in public section, then protected section, and then private section. So the same method that we have created globally, let's try it locally. Class, global class 1. Yes, material display. I will check the parameters. This is what we are using. Same thing we can do here also. So I will define here one method. This is my instance method. So methods, display material. And we will have here importing parameter. Importing parameter, let's say I underscore material input. And type I will pass here this thing. Yeah, this thing. Type I will pass simply this thing. So this is importing. And then we will have exporting here. So exporting LD table type, this table type, this. Let's copy and paste it. This is a method declaration here. Method importing and exporting parameters. Now if you check for the error, by default system will tell that implementation is missing for this method. So we will do the implementation in this section. Method display material, and I will go for AND method here, and then inside it we can simply write the logic. Correct? So I will simply go to my source code. I will bring this logic. This is the logic, right? Where material is in I material, and it will store the data in the LT table output. Yeah, same thing. Then we can go for our events, startup selection, and I can simply create the object. So my local object is equal to new keyword, my class name, and using this object, we will call this method display material. Yeah, exporting and importing parameters. So I will be sending here select option. Let's declare it. Data LV Mattner, type our data element, material number, and we can have here select options S Mattner for LV Mattner. So this is something we can simply send it here. So S Mattner, and this is going to return your LT table. So that also we can declare here. Data keyword, LT output, and my type, we can simply make it this type. This is my table type. I can simply use it here. I can simply use this, right? So we will receive the output into this LVT output, and then I can simply go for a CL demo and check the output. So display LT output. Any sort of confusion in this? Declaration of method, class definition, class implementation, start of selection events, and then calling the method, displaying the output, right? Any confusion in this? So now I can simply put here a breakpoint and I can check it. If I'm going for execute, passing the material number, so now if you check, we have got our object, correct, right? And here this is going to call this method. If you are pressing F5, it will take you to simply inside the method implementation. This select query is getting implemented and we will get the output, correct? Local way of doing the same thing that we have done globally. If you go and check the same stuff, if I am going here outside and if I am checking this in the source code, see it is just the same. There are methods importing, exporting, and then writing the logic, same stuff. But this is global in nature. This is global in nature. Yeah. Is it okay? Everyone is okay,
Yes, sir.
right? So a local class for doing the same thing. If you want to create global, you use the GUI way, or if you want, you can simply come to SE38 and write the logic in the backend the same way. Yeah. Can simply write the logics in the same way. Then features or we can simply say properties of our object-oriented programming. From here, properties of object-oriented programming. Yeah. Properties of our object-oriented programming. Very first one, inheritance. What is inheritance, guys? What is inheritance? Can you hear me?
Yes.
What is inheritance? Please tell me.
It's like creating a subclass from the parent class.
Okay. Uh, can you elaborate a little bit?
Like class, there's a class 2 is created like from the class 1. Then class 1 is called as a parent class or a super class of class 2. Like it will be the
And
parent and the class 2 will be the child of the.
so, what will be the benefit of it?
The
The
properties
property.
of the properties
Mm.
of class 1 can be automatically getting into the class 2.
All the properties?
Public and protected.
Public and protected. That was the visibility definition. That's what we saw in the public,
Explain.
protected, and private section. Correct? Inheritance is used to inherit the properties of parent class into child class. Correct? Please be interactive into child classes. Simple way, if you want to normally explain, you can say we all have the properties of our parents, right? Not only physical, but all the properties, right? So if we are asking about visibility, only public and protected properties can be acquired by the child class from the parent class. Parent class. Only public and protected properties can be acquired by the child class from the parent class. There are mainly three types of inheritance. Mainly three types of inheritance. Single label inheritance, multi-label inheritance, and you have multiple inheritance. Single, multi-label, and multiple inheritance. So if you are inheriting, or let's say if a class, a child class is inheriting from father or parent class, this is called single label. Yeah, this is called single label inheritance. Or if we are talking about multi-label, so you can simply say here there will be a grandfather class from which father class will inherit. The simple way to explain the same thing. inherit, and then the child class will inherit from father class. So that we can simply say here from A to B and then from B to C. And this one is just A to B, class A to class B. So here what you will see, the child class will have all the properties. Class will have the properties of both the parent class and the grandfather class. Right? Then you have multiple inheritance. Multiple inheritance says a class can have multiple parents. Parents. A class can have multiple parents. This is the definition of this multiple inheritance. Yeah. It is simply saying if a class is, let's say class A is there, so then you have class B is there, and then there is your class C. Class C will inherit from class A also and from class B also parallelly at the same time. So, for example, we can simply say a child cannot have multiple fathers, right? Similarly, here also, you are going to see the same thing. A class cannot have multiple parents in ABAP. So that is why multiple inheritance is not supported. Inheritance is not supported in ABAP. Is it okay? However, there is a concept, there is a interface concept which you can use to implement multiple inheritance. There is a concept called interface which you can use to implement multiple inheritance. Any questions on this? Hmm? Any questions here? Hmm? Yeah, Divya.
No, sir.
Okay. So three things are there: single, multi-label, and multiple. Let's see it practically and let's try to understand why things are happening. So this is my one class here. You can see it's a complex class. Let's go for a different program here. Z inheritance. Inheritance in oops. And I will go for executable, package, and request. So suppose I am having here class, father, definition, and my end class. Then we can have here class, father implementation, end class. So suppose here I have got one method in the public section. I am declaring one method. Uh, method or better I should go for father method. This is a method I am declaring here in the parent class. I will have the implementation of it. So method, father method, and method. And here I am implementing write statement. Hello, I am father class. Then I will have one child class. So class child definition and class. And I will have the child implementation also. So child implementation and class. Now in the public section, I can have here methods. So earlier we have this father method. Now let's make it child method. Child class method. We can also write the logic for the same thing. So my method, child method, and method. And we can simply go for write statement. Hello, I am child class. Correct? Now how we will implement the inheritance? This is class 2, this is class 1. So one more thing I forgot to write it here. Inheriting from keyword is used to inherit the parent class into the child class, Which keyword? Inheriting from keyword. And you are going to use the same thing. So here now we can simply go for this child class, and after definition we can simply use inheriting from father. So inheriting from father, the same stuff it is going to do, inheriting the father class. Yeah. So class child definition, inheriting from father. Now we can go for the event startup selection. I will create the object of my child. So hello child, new keyword, the class name. And using this object, we can simply call the method of both things. Method name, father method. Check for the error. It is saying, oh, sorry, hello child. So now using this child object, if you check, see both these method you can access. The method of child class and method of father class also. See, I'm able to access that one. Hello, I am father class. So using the object of this child class, we are able to access the object of parent class. This is your single label inheritance. This is your single inheritance. One class getting inherited into another class. So this is your single label inheritance here. Yeah. This is your single label inheritance. When we are talking about another one, so which is your multi-label. So you can have now here the third class also, class grandfather definition and class grandfather implementation. We can go for this one. Now I can have here the methods of this special one also. So methods, let's make it grandfather method. Yeah. And same thing we can do here. We can do the implementation. So method, grandfather method, and end method. Now I can simply do the logic writing. So hello, I am grandfather method. Grandfather method. So now father will inherit the grandfather. So here we can go for inheriting from grandfather class. So the property of this grandfather will be transferred to this father, and the property of this father will be transferred to this child class. That becomes your multi-label. So now if you check this object of child class, it will have the access of this grandfather method also. If you press Control plus space, you see here instance method which belongs to your grandfather class. Now you are able to access it. And same thing you can try. Hello, I am grandfather method. So we can use the same for multi-label. One class getting inherited to second. Okay, how many of you have tried OOPS ALV, object-oriented ALV? Which class we use? Huh? Hmm. How many of you have tried ever OOPS ALV?
To display, sir.
Yes, yes. What is the name of the class?
CL underscore GU underscore ALB.
Yes, grid class we use. So have you checked how many class it is inheriting? So if I am going for CL GUI ALV grid, so if you check here, go for display, properties. See, this is the super class. It is inheriting CL GUI ALV grid base class. If you will double click this class itself, this base class is now inheriting the CL GUI control class. If you go in the control, now this control class is inheriting the CL GUI object class. So this is the main parent one. And here multi-label inheritance is getting implemented. So this guy is getting inherited into control. Control is getting inherited into grid base. And then grid base is getting inherited into grid class. That is why the methods that you see here, all the methods you are seeing here in the blue color, everything is coming. If you go and check from where they are coming, let me show you. All these methods, uh, they are from interface itself. You see, if cached prop. So lots of methods are also getting, see this, get property. Let's check from where it is coming. So if I'm going for this properties, my grid base, control, GUI object, and if I check here these methods, see here, get property. So this method is getting defined inside this GUI object, but it is getting used in control, in grid base, and then in grid also because of multi-label inheritance, right? Because of this multi-label inheritance. Then if you check this multiple inheritance here, so multiple inheritance is not supported in ABAP. If you will try to use it, you can see here, if here I will try to give comma, by default system will give a issue. We can't go for other classes. Only one class we can inherit. We can't go for multiple at once. Yeah. So multiple inheritance is not supported. You see, a system is automatically giving you issue. comma without preceding colon. Right? Yeah. Everyone, is it okay? Inheritance?
Yes, sir.
Sir, hello.
Yes, funny.
Yes, sir. You told me like multiple inheritance was not supported in ABAP, right? So other
Uh,
than ABAP language, in other languages, will it support? For example, in Java or Python, will multiple inheritance will work out for that languages?
right for you. It is also, see, what you see is ABAP is mostly inspired from Java programming. Okay. So the same thing you are going to see there also, programming. So Java also do not. So this was a feature of Java. SAP is just using it in ABAP, multiple inheritance. But when we are talking about C++, supports multiple inheritance. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank
How,
you.
but you can use this interface concept for implementation. We'll see that part later on. Okay. We'll check that. Now, a very interesting concept is there inside the inheritance only, which is final class. What is a final class? What is a final class? Yes, please. Hmm? Yes, Mahesh.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Do you have any idea on this?
A final class, that is a final class. It should not go to any child class, sir. With that final class, we cannot use another as a super class. Another when we creating another child class, we cannot use that final class as a super class.
Okay, we don't use it, or we
Um,
can't use it, or we don't use it. Two things are
the-
there.
that means we cannot got access give inheritance to another class with through that this final class.
Okay, so can we create object of final classes?
Yeah, we can create, sir.
Okay. Two things are there. So yes, object can be created. We can create object of final class, but these classes are final in nature. These classes cannot be inherited into any subclass, into any subclass or child class. We use final keyword to make any class as final. We use final keyword to mark a class as final class. So if by mistake, suppose I'm marking here this grandfather class as a final, so same thing will be done here. The final grandfather class cannot have any subclasses. Method grandfather method does not exist. This is, however, a method with a similar name, father method. See, so we are not able to inherit the grandfather class into father class now, because this is final in nature. This is final in nature. Even if you are going for SE24, whenever we create any class, suppose I am creating a class here, you see there is a option of this final checkbox. This specifies that a class is final in nature. If you are marking there as a final, the class will become final in nature, and then you will not be able to inherit it anymore. You will not be able to inherit it. Will not be able to inherit it. That is why it is final in nature. So sample, I'll write it here. So way of explanation is very, very important. These are very basic things. You might have learned it in your college days only. But how we are going to use them in ABAP, that is most important perhaps for us. Next, property. Tell me this one.
Sir, a small doubt about final class. Sir, is there any situations like when we are going to create any class like in SC24 global class, how we can decide that which is a final, how we can keep like a tick mark as a final? Is there any specific reason or only based on business, sir? Is there any
See,
utility?
no. That's what you need to understand. Whenever any company or any technology who is creating any programming language, this is a concept here. Okay. This concept was created to make sure that suppose I have created one class with some private properties, or let's say some protected properties which I don't want, or maybe with public property also which I do not want to be accessed inside the another child classes. That's where we are going to make it as a final. Or you can simply say, if normally you have to explain it, somebody, let's say our real life case, somebody. So it is mainly based on the business cases. So somebody is, suppose, getting married, then he can't have kids. That's what your final class is all about. So based on your business case, if you are, no, see, business will never say you to create a class which will can't be inherited into the child classes. As a developer, you are going to make it. As a developer, you will make sure like how secure you are creating your classes so that nobody can inherit it. Nobody can reuse it at some other place. Most of the time, what you see now, lots of classes are there. Let's say CLSALV table. Check this class. Display. Check the properties. Instance generation is private. You can't directly create the object of it. You cannot directly create the object of it. They are not allowing it. They are not allowing it. Instance generation, they have made it private. So if you are making any one instance generation as private, you will not be able to create the object of that. So if I'm going here, suppose, and making here create private. Second. Let me just show you that from here only. Open the classes that we created. Display. Code based. So if you see this, let's go for this. I will just bring the same stuff. Or if you see right now, it is create public. Let's change the same thing. I will change it. I'll go for properties. And here, suppose I am making it private. Activate. Now just go back and check source code. Now it has become private. So same thing if we implement here also, just see what will happen. So I'm going for public. Stop. Create here as private. Check the problem. The final class, wait, let me just comment out this final. Now just see this. What we have done here. This is not a public. Let me remove it. Yeah, check now. A instance of the class child cannot be created outside the class. Why? Because here we have made it instance generation as private. So as a developer, you will make sure like how you are going to use these classes so that you can have a more security on your logic part. That's why so many concepts are there. Now this class cannot have any object. Cannot have any object outside the class. Only inside it. Here if I want inside this method, I can have the object. If I try hello Vijay new child, here I can create it. But outside I can't create it. So only this one is causing the problem. So if I comment it out, there will not be any error. So inside it, inside the method implementation, we are able to create. But as soon as I made the private, I can't get the object outside the class. So what you asked that when we are going to make it as final, so based on the business, that's it, that is the job of a developer. Now you got a requirement. Now how you are creating it so that it will have be more efficient, more secured in nature, because this is something which you are going to think where we need to display it, display, and where we need to hide. Correct? Is it okay now?
Okay, sir.
Okay, Mahesh?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Over the period of time, slowly, you will get used to these things and you will start understanding like which concept we are going to use when a requirement is similar to that. Yeah. Polymorphism. Yes, please, this one. Anyone? Polymorphism.
So many forms.
Okay. Many forms. What is many forms?
Like it's a property to assign behavior of the to the subclass.
Behavior to the subclass. Okay. Anything else on this? Anything else other than this? Many forms. Okay, understand the situation. If you recall, when I started the object-oriented program, as I said, suppose my father bought a piece of land and he used it for farming purpose. This was his purpose of using this land. He forwarded it to me. So forwarded it to me and I used it for establishing a company. Yeah, establishing a company. So if you see here, if you take this thing as a parent class and there is a logic written of using as a farming purpose, now the child class, if you I see this class is using it for a different thing, right? Two classes, two different behaviors. So what we can say here, a method defined in the parent class, can behave differently in the child classes. Behave differently, that is, can have a different logic. That's what you call polymorphism is comprised of two words. If you see here, two words, poly and morph, where poly means many and morphism means forms. So the same terminology is combined together, many forms. That's why it is called together. It is called many forms. That's why I used this example here. So a method which you have written some logic in the parent class, now you can have a separate logic for the same method in the child class also. This is also known as, or this property you can call it, property is also known as method overriding. This property is also known as method overriding. Another interview question coming into picture. A method which was defined differently in the parent class now will behave differently in the child class. This property is called method overriding. So here, if you check the same thing, let's take the same example, or better I should create a separate method, polymorphism. Polymorphism. Create polymorphism. And I will have executable package and request. So now suppose I want to display my sales header and item data, VBAK and VBAP. I will have both the structures. Let's see this. Begin of ty underscore, or it will become complex. Okay, let's create it. So better I will go to simply S11 and create a global table types, which I can use here. So what I can do, Z table sales header, create table type for sales header, and then I can have the structures. Let me check any sales structure is there or not. Sales. Okay, let it be structure, sales. Okay, let's check it. Package. Oh, it contains of lots of things. Sales, header. And I will create one structure for VBAK. I will have a few columns here. I will go to SE11 and use these columns. So table name, my VBAK table. I will be using these columns here. Here num and wait a second. I will copy and I'll paste it. Here DAT, here ZDT, here num, data element Veblen VA, here DAT, here ZDT, here num. And let's do the activation. I will create the table type. Yeah. So here, suppose I have one class. Let's make it parent definition and class. Then my public section. We have got one methods here. Suppose display sales. Yeah. So now I will have a implementation of it. So parent implementation and class method display sales and method. And I can simply use here this internal table LT header type this table type, and then I can use the work area. So ls header like line of LT header, right? Internal table and work area. Now I can simply write here the logic, select Veblen, here DAT, here ZDT, here num from my VBAK, and I can store it into this internal table LT header, and suppose up to 10 rows, and then I'll simply display it. So CL demo output, and I'm displaying it to LT header. Everyone, is it okay? Till now, any confusion in this? A normal class with a normal method, correct? Right?
Yeah, it is okay, sir.
Yeah. Now I am having here child class. So class child, let's say this definition inheriting from this parent and class. So for this one also, suppose I will create one table type so that we can use, let's make it item for VBAP, create, sorry, data type, create table type VBAP table type. So here I can just give here item, save it, and structure sales item. Now I can have the column of VBAP table. So item number, material number. Suppose these three columns I'm using here. Original VA, and the data element of Matner is Matner itself. So we can activate it. And this one also I can activate. I will use it to create an internal table and work area here in my program. So data keyword, let's say LT item, type table type. So now this child class is inheriting from parent. So what I can do, I can simply redefine this method. So methods, display sales, redefinition, redefining it, redefining, defining the parent class method in child class. So now it can have a separate implementation. So class, child implementation, and we can have here method display sales. See, the name is same, but a new implementation will have. So I'm writing it for, suppose, my VBAP now. Veblen, Posner, Matner, from VBAP into table LT VBAP up to, let's say, 10 or 20 rows. And then I'll simply display it, CL demo output, and my display method, LT VBAP. It will be LT item, I believe. This one also LT item. Yeah. Check for the error. No error. Now I can simply go for a start of selection and just see the magic. If I am creating the object of parent, data keyword. If I'm creating the object of parent, new parent, and if I'm calling this same method display sales, what will happen? It will display the LT header data, correct? And if I'm calling the object of the same thing, if I'm calling the object of child, it will have a different thing. Right? Same method, display sales, same name, but different implementation. This is called your polymorphism. Yeah, and this property is called method overriding.